The leadership you want to see out of Lauri Markkanen was right there on full display, and it should fire you up as a Jazz fan. Next on Locked on Jazz. Bum 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 bum.
You are Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, how are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. Today, Lauri Markkanen, the leader, returns for the Utah Jazz. Maybe one of the most important growth stories of the season. We had it on full display last night from Lauri. The rookies, they're fearless. They're getting better, and they're progressing. Will Hardy teaches us some learning from Will Hardy that were particularly interesting, and I'll share with you. Plus, the NBA is in the largest offensive drought in the history of the league. Panic. What should we do? Change the rules. Oh, we already did that. We'll talk about that. And John Hollinger with some interesting questions about what happens in the West. As I mentioned, I am David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider, and this is Locked on Jazz. It's your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you so much for making Locked on Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all podcasting apps, as well as on YouTube. Thank you very much. Thumbs up are appreciated. 5-star reviews are loved. And to the everydayers out there, you're awesome. Those who stopped by to get a sticker yesterday at the broadcast, thank you very much. Hopefully you like it, and appreciate you very much jumping in and being a part of Locked on Jazz and being an everydayer. You make this thing tick. All right. Today's show is brought to you in part by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find qualified candidates. You want to talk faster, post your jobs for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Favor, you guys have built Locked On, made it what it is, built it into what the network has become with all your help. We have built the first ever 24/7 stream, Locked On Sports Today. It's available on YouTube, and it's also available on Amazon Fire TV. And I'm interested for you to watch it, if you don't mind, and send me some feedback. What do you like? What would make it better? What do you not like? Those kind of things. We're working on right now, building 2.0, 3.0, and 4.0, and what we think those are and where we're heading, and would love your feedback on that. All right, let's get to it. So I just was super impressed with Lauri yesterday. He comes back. His press conference, his shoot-around press conference was, basically get some questions on, like, why are you coming back? Well, I'm coming back because I want to get better individually. There's things I need to work on. There's development I want to have, and I want to become better and learn how to play with these young guys. And that's pretty great. I mean, this guy just... We can nitpick, and the end of last night's game showed that he's absolutely right. He needs to develop a bunch of these skills. He's just not comfortable getting the ball at the elbow and playing that isolation, and he had 6 turnovers yesterday. We could look through all the 6 turnovers. Sure, we'll probably do that tomorrow. But the bigger picture is you just have a guy who's just a tremendous teammate. I mean, I think this stems back from his offseason military stuff that he did with Finland and just who he is as a person. But he does need to play with these guys. Like, he's played less than 300 possessions with Taylor Hendricks on the floor together. And frankly, we've been terrible. With Keyonte George, he's played a little bit more, but not a lot. Like, he and Keyonte George have played 1,500 possessions together. They're still figuring each other out. We've been okay. We've been about average, which is good. It depends a little bit who we have in at various positions with them on whether or not on how good they are and what they do. When we've had Taylor in that lineup, is where we've really struggled, but that's because Taylor's super young. The lineup that's worked best is when Jordan, Collin, Keyonte, Lauri, and John Collins, and we're kind of an offensive juggernaut in that circumstance, and the fact we don't defend doesn't matter. Or when we had Kelly in there as well as a ball mover. So, we've seen the pieces that work here. But this is where Lauri, I just really thought, and then he just plays hard. He plays right. He plays hard. He does all the things. I just thought it was a great reminder of who this guy is. And, I'm not sure that Lauri Markkanen is a number one piece. Like, he's not Anthony Edwards. Like, we saw a number one piece last night. We saw a guy that you you build around and see if you win a championship with. The kid is just so special, former #1 pick. Just the explosiveness on that dunk was mind-blowing. And he's just that good. But so Lauri's probably not that guy. And I don't know that he ever becomes, I don't think we should super max him, and I don't think we should probably max him. And he's probably, all these little underlying intricacies of this. But the other the other angle on this is a tremendous professional who's a great leader, who's a supermodel for our young kids, who is diligent about his craft, wants to get better, and is doing all the right things. This is a guy that you want your young players, as we build a franchise, to be around on a daily basis. And that's super important. Like, Will Hardy basically reset the standard the other night and basically said, hey, if we're going to have a pathway to a championship, this is how we're going to play. This is how we're going to do it. We're not going off that. He's going to follow that. And when he follows that, then the team is likely to follow that. And this is really the basis of where the development starts. We want, as fans, the W's. I mean, the chat room in our postcast is ridiculous. Like, I can't handle these losses. Like, whoa, like, really? Like, just kind of the lack of context of what we're doing. Okay, we're going to lose. We could lose games next year too, right? Like, this is hard. But if you're going to go through something hard, you better have a tremendous leader or model by which everyone goes. Lauri's not an outspoken, loud leader. We've talked about this a lot. He's naturally an introvert, but I'll take his introverted professionalism over a lot of other things I see in this league, and having, the old phrase of the inmates running the asylum. Like, let's let Lauri run the asylum and everyone will follow. I think it's terrific. So I thought that was just great to see him back. I also just thought his press conference yesterday, when I went back and watched it, this is what you want. It was perfect. I thought the team was way better. This is another tribute to kind of who these guys are, what Will Hardy gets them to do. They were not good in that game the other night against Minnesota. It was ugly, and the amount of floaters and just the floaters early in the shot clock. And Will's point on the mid-range, I'm not going to tell someone not to take mid-range, but let's exhaust all opportunities to get better shots. If we get into the final 8 seconds of a shot clock, then in the final 8 seconds of a shot clock, nobody shoots particularly well. At that point, you're really just trying to figure out how you're going to get a shot off. And that's pretty true. Like, the data, when you start to get into kind of shot clock dashboard stuff, that's pretty true. If you're 4 to 7 on the shot clock, I'm ignoring fouls for a second here. The league average gets down to about, and this is crazy high compared to where it used to be. The league average gets down to about 1.02 points per possession. All right, well, if I can get a 50% floater at that point, it's probably fine. That's 4 to 7. We're right in that range. I mean, it's very, very close together. Some of the Pelicans and the Kings and the Bucks and the Heat and the Celtics are particularly good. And then if you get into 0 to 4 in the shot clock, well, then it really plummets. And now we're at about 0.86 points per possession. And, we're not great at this. We're below 40% on effective field goal percentage at that point. So we're not a great late shot clock team. We don't have one-on-one go-to guys. But Will's point was, hey, yeah, you can take the mid-range. We're not going to stop you from taking mid-range, because at some point along the way on the shot clock under 8, we're just trying to get a shot off. But, when we're 15 to 18 on the shot clock and the league average points per possession is 1.15, like, let's not take a little floater. Like, let's be better than that. Same thing with 7 to 15, frankly. And I thought we saw that. I saw them. They got in the paint, jump stopped, kicked it out, found open guys. It was a really nice play by, I think it might have been Taylor, found Brice. Somebody found Brice for an open 3, was exactly the play we were talking about. I thought Taylor had one nice pass out in the middle of the lane. So you just saw a lot of improvement last night. I mean, the thing that happened last night is in the final 5 minutes, we just couldn't score. And this goes back to kind of, okay, well, Lauri's got to develop a little bit. We're giving Lauri the ball, and like we just couldn't score. I mean, the final 6 minutes, Taylor misses a 3. If you back it up, it's 93-91. I did this on Postcast last night. Sexton turns it over. Then Taylor takes a really bad 3. Then Sexton misses a 3. And then Taylor misses a 3. Now we're suddenly down 9. Now we work our way back to 6 off Markkanen scoring. Markkanen goes to free throws. We've worked it back to 4. And then Keyonte and Lauri turn it over on back-to-back possessions. Now we're down 7 with 3 minutes left. You're in a lot of trouble. Lauri misses a 3, kick back out to Keyonte, and we get the 3. That's our one field goal other than Lauri's hook shot with 4:40 or hook shot with 5:22 left the rest of the way. And then Lauri tries to go one-on-one. and misses. Keyonte misses a follow off an offensive rebound, and then we're done. Then really Dunn misses back-to-back threes, but we're done. So we just couldn't score late. But otherwise, ball movement was better. Team effort was better. Defense was better. Understanding each other better. Having Lauri back made everyone's life better. Maybe having Lauri back gave some leadership and some fun. It was just much better last night. Which is good because this is going to be a hard road trip. The rookies are making great progress, and it's another good sign for the Utah Jazz, and we're touching on it next as we're just getting started here on Locked On Jazz. Today's show is brought to you by Murdoch Hyundai, located at 4646 South State Street, also located in Logan and in Linden. The Hyundai lineup of cars just unbelievable. They just keep stealing all the awards. Like, it's almost unfair. How many? They're like a movie at the Oscars that just wins everything. The Ioniq 5 won the Motor Trend SUV of the year. And then the Ioniq 6 turned around and won the car of the year. Those are the two electric cars. The 2024 Santa Fe has arrived. It has been redone and is pretty cool looking. Go check it out. The new Santa Fe. It's kind of the Santa Fe it's a bigger car, all-wheel drive, looking nice. And it comes in at under $40,000 for a big SUV, which is pretty nice there as well. So the 2024 Santa Fe has arrived. By the way, the lease now on the 2024 Ioniq 5 is $299. The 6 is $249 for 36 months. Great deals over at Murdoch Hyundai. If you're going to head over there, please email me first and let me give you the VIP treatment that you deserve by being a Locked On every day, or send me an email at dlock09@gmail.com. All right, I will admit, despite the way I look every morning, that I do try to look good, but I'm not great with the fashion stuff. I go to a department store or something, and I kind of freeze up. I don't know what to do. I don't know what's in. I don't know what's not. I'm old. So this is where Stitch Fix, it's a personal problem. Stitch Fix really is great for me. Stitch Fix checks my size, gives me a bunch of questions on a questionnaire of like what style I want to have, what my budget preferences are, how much I'm willing to spend on various things. And then sends me 5 just for me pieces, outfit recommendations, pro styling advice, so I can take even further. I keep what I want and I send the rest back. The stylist sends me the just right pieces, the fits on point. It's like having ESP, but more than anything, it just comes right to me after taking the survey. Plus, I get outfits that make me look good, feel good, and are probably hipper and look better than I would buy for myself. Give me a little more guts and confidence when somebody else is telling me that this is what looks good. Style that makes you look good and get you started at stitchfix.com/lockedon. That's stitchfix.com/lockedon. stitchfix.com/lockedon. Style so good, you can feel it. Thanks for making Locked On your first listen of the day. All right, it's coming Thursday. It is the Major League Baseball preview, first ever time we've done this, and we're launching a show right on at 5 o'clock Mountain, 7 o'clock Eastern. It is the Major League Baseball preview. It's on Locked On Sports Today, the first ever national 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. So mark your calendars, March 20th, 7 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Mountain. 3-hour show, be the first with all the insight on Major League Baseball season. Hey, if the A's are coming to Salt Lake next year, you want to make you up to date on the Major League Baseball season. So find it on either YouTube at Locked On Sports Today or on your free Amazon Fire TV channel app. Fired up for that. That'll be fun. All right. The rookies are doing a lot of really good things. They're not perfect. Will Hardy's talked about Taylor Hendricks gets too close to his guy, doesn't understand his own length, he gets blown by. Fine. I think the biggest thing I noticed that Taylor Hendricks, he relaxes in a play. He makes the initial stop. He's feeling good about himself. He sits up for a second, and the guy gets the ball back. He's gone. Oh, crap. Like, he's going to learn. Keyonte last night was way too loose with the basketball. 6 turnovers, splitting double teams, off the dribble, things like that. Brice is struggling to find himself. You can see he's aiming his shot. This guy's one of the best shooters in the draft, and he's scuffling to find a shot right now. Okay, they're not perfect, but there's some things we're seeing out of them that are really exciting. First of all, they look like they belong. Will Hardy called it fearless. They're playing without fear. I like the way he says that. I mean, they really are. They really look. Keyonte looks like he belongs, right? Keyonte. I mean, he got juked last night. I thought it was kind of awesome because I love Mike Conley, but also like he got juked last night by Mike Conley in a way that was like Yeah, that's what happens to a rookie. Like the Hezzy from a 36-year-old veteran that you don't think there's any like it's the old man at the park just got you. It's kind of fabulous. But they're bouncing back from all those moments and going at it. What they've got to learn, and they're going to just learn, and it's going to be brutal here for the next 4 days. That's why I bring it up today. It's like they got to play tomorrow against Oklahoma City, and then they got to play Wednesday or Thursday against Luka, and then Saturday they got to play against Houston, who's most physical team in the league. Like, let's see what you do. We got 3 games in 4 nights coming off a few nights. Like, let's see how you deal with it. Okay, like, can Keyonte not have a 3 for 16 in here where he's lackadaisical? The thing that is most important in the internal circles about the rookies is that they're coachable, they're working hard, and they want feedback. That's a great sign. Those are, like, to the point of earlier of Lauri being your model, the rookies are better today than they were when the year started because they're coachable, they work hard, and they take feedback. That's great. Like Sensabaugh, who's a great shooter, is shooting 26% for 3. I'm just not worried about that at all. Taylor was working with Danny Ainge before the game the other night out on the floor, and his shot looked way better last night. Had a lot more arch to it, a lot more. It's fixable. It's been a line. Ron Boone's been pointing it out. It's a dead-eye line drive. But we're seeing all of the flashes of athleticism that made Taylor Hendricks the 9th pick of the draft. The dunk last night, the recovery on plays. And we've seen Keyonte step forward at a pretty high level. He's got to get way more efficient, and he's got to turn the ball. I mean, Alan Horton of the Timberwolves last night looking at me like, the dude just committed 10 turnovers in 2 nights. I was like, yeah, well, actually, you know what? Alan's right. Like, that's a lot. And particularly it's a lot for guys like, I like turnovers out of a rookie. Like, don't misunderstand me. I'd rather have turnovers than no turnovers because turnovers then turn into plays eventually. But Alan's right. Like, that's getting, like, there's a looseness to his game that probably in the last 6 full games Keyonte's played, he's had 4 more turnovers in 4 of the 6. Like, ooh, it's a lot. So these guys aren't like perfect, nor do we expect them to be. They're rookies. This is the beginning of it all. But we're seeing all the trends of them that I think give them a chance to be really, really good, which is exciting. I thought Will Hardy had, in fact, I'm going to use this in my weekly call with the Locked On people. I thought Will Hardy had a really interesting thing about teaching young guys the other day. So it was in his pregame press conference, and it started on based on the fact that they just kind of had this bad game and that they had this big film session and they'd taken too many of these floaters and they just kind of got suckered into playing Minnesota's game. And then Will got kind of into his philosophy of teaching, which if anyone's teaching, whether you're an instructor, educator of the day like we had yesterday at the games, or whether you're coaching people or whether you're coaching kids or whether you're just in the office, I thought these were really good comments. And Will does a tremendous amount of reading. He's very thoughtful. And the thing that's signature to me about Will's career is that he knew he was going to be a head coach from a very early age and has thought about all of it. So the first thing he said is don't teach in gray areas. And it's such a great point. Like, if you're going to teach somewhere where it's distinctively clear where you want them to be. And if it's a gray area, as Will was saying, and he was talking about in an NBA play, like there's just so many plays that happen so fast. Like, don't be trying to teach them on a play where they're kind of looking at you like, well, maybe not. I mean, like teach where it's clear. Second one, and this is in no particular order. We could probably discuss amongst ourselves what the order should be, was explain the why. Like, here's why I'm teaching you what I'm teaching you. Here's why we're doing what we're doing. 3 is really basic. It's probably number 1 is make sure they think you support them. Number 4 was don't nitpick. Like, if you're going to find something you're trying to work on and you're going to make them better, do it on something that's big enough that it actually makes them noticeably better. Don't nitpick. And then 5, which I just really fundamentally agree with more than anything, is teach with what's right. So in other words, don't always show them bad film. Show them film of what's right. I was talking to Scott Morrison, Jazz assistant, the other day, and he was talking about that they ran they were showing some pick and roll stuff from earlier this year and just on, really good pick and roll and how you want to run pick and roll from somebody else. I think it was from some other players. And, that's a good way to teach the right also. Rather than teaching you what's wrong, show what's right by showing other people's pick and roll that's really good. So let me review those 5 because I thought they were interesting, and maybe you're driving and you want to try to remember them. And I'm the worst at that. I don't know about you guys, but boy, when I'm driving and somebody says something, I try to remember. I get home, I can't remember it. So maybe I'll put it in the show notes. So I think in order, if I had to try to put them in order, is 1, support. The primary thing if you're teaching is they've got to believe you're supporting them. Number 2 is explain the why. Okay, why are we doing what we're doing? Why are we focusing on what we're doing? What's the value? 3, and these are related, don't teach in gray areas. Like, if it's not distinctively clear what we're doing, let's not use that as our example. 4, don't nitpick. And 5, teach with what's right. So I like that. Hopefully that was a huge value to me. I literally started writing Locked On the side of my notes yesterday in Will's press conference. So hopefully that's a value to you guys. Interesting little note about what an NBA locker room is like that in my 30 years in the NBA, I'm not sure I ever really knew. Plus, where does Lauri Markkanen rank on power forwards? Have both those things coming to you, plus the offensive drought that's the largest ever in NBA history, all as we continue on today's edition of Locked On Jazz. Today's show is brought to you by LinkedIn. Small businesses know that hiring is hard and takes time, and that's where LinkedIn comes in, because hiring with this many quality candidates gets a lot easier at LinkedIn. In fact, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have time or resources to hire, so LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process easier and quicker. 2.5 small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. It's not just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all this while making the process easy and intuitive. LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNBA. Thank you very much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. College basketball breakdown of the brackets is out. The special, a lot of fun, a lot of different voices on the show is available for you at Locked On College Basketball right now. So go check that out if you want to. I'm about 45 minutes in for Locked On College Basketball so far. All right, a few notes. Nate Duncan of Dunked On Basketball ranked the power forwards in the NBA. Giannis Antetokounmpo was 1, and he and Danny LaRue had Lauri Markkanen as 2. Kind of cool. Lauri Markkanen ranked as number 2. Here's a little note out of locker rooms that I intuitively knew, but until it was said the other night, was interesting. We were talking about Sarah Todd of Desert News was doing a story, I think, it seems, on Mike Conley and his leadership and the role of that kind of player. And Chris Finch and both Will Hardy talked about how Mike Conley allows them to talk to Mike Conley, and Mike Conley can go talk to the team in a way that maybe they can't, and that it's a beautiful circle of communication that takes place and that Mike allows to have happen. And then Sarah's kind of point was, do you have to have that on a championship team? And so the discussion went on about it. And then what was interesting was the point that when an NBA half starts, and maybe everyone knows this, and this is totally intuitive, but for whatever reason, the way it was said the other night, I just hadn't thought about it. So when an NBA half starts, the players have about 6.5 to 7 minutes where they're in the locker room by themselves. The coaches are looking at film, they're editing stuff, they're taking a break. They frankly don't have enough information to cover the whole time, whatever it might be. But they are in there and they have about 6.5 minutes by themselves. And as was pointed out, you can lose the entire half in that 6.5 minutes before the coaching staff gets there. And I thought that's where leadership and vocal leadership really matters. Like if you have a locker room that was just sick guys are sitting around talking to themselves for 6 minutes, it's probably not that valuable. A lot of guys are checking Instagram and Twitter, probably. Honestly, that's the truth. And they're seeing what everyone's saying about them, and it's having an impact. All those things. That's the truth, because they're kids. That's what they do. That's what actually adults do it too. Everyone does it all the time. I do it. We all check all the time. The longest I probably go every day without checking my phone is the 29 minutes I do to record this show every day, or longer. During a game I check my phone. Yeah, that's the answer. So I'm no different than there. We're all checking our phones all the time. So they check their phones. So from there, it's just an interesting note. Like it does, I think, have a lot to do with like roster building and what the value is. And it also might be like why we were soulless right after the trade, because I'm sure that Kelly Olynyk was a fairly vital part of that time period. And when we suddenly didn't have him, it probably was a little bit like that. So just a thought. I thought that was really, really interesting. All right. So the NBA says they didn't change the rules. However, in the last 30 days, points per game has gone from 115.5 to 111.3. According to Dan Feldman and Dunked On, it is the largest drought in 30 days in the history of the NBA. Once before, in like 1942 or something crazy, something like this has happened. But never before in the history of the NBA have we ever had a 30-day period of time. In 1978-79, in November, December 1978-79, we dropped 4.1 points. We dropped 4.2 points from February to March of 2023 to 24, the last 30 days. In 1952-53, we went from 83 points a game to 79 points a game. But in the modern era, post-Magic, the last time something like this has happened was 1995-96, where something funky must have been going on. Because from January to February, we went down 2.7 points. We've gone down 4.2 points in 30 days of average. In 92-93, we also went down 2.7 points from December to January. And other than that, in the post-Magic era, you can't find anything close to this. So the league has fundamentally changed something going on in this league. And I just hate it. I'm the biggest NBA fan in the world. I'm the biggest supporter of this league. I just hate this. I hate the fact there can be that big a fundamental change in the middle of the season. And I didn't think it was a problem in the first place. Truthfully, I didn't think it was a problem. And to me, this is a bummer to me. Interesting thing for us to talk more about. John Hollinger, The Athletic, wrote, if you look at the Western Conference standings right now, like 4 teams are getting the second round. That's the way the rules work. So assuming for a second that it's Oklahoma City, Memphis, Denver, and I don't know who. Right now, if you had to guess, it's probably New Orleans. So, if the playoffs started today, Oklahoma City would play Phoenix, which would be interesting. But Thunder, pretty good. Minnesota would play Dallas. Be interesting. Minnesota's pretty good. Denver would play Sacramento. And then the Pelicans and the Clippers would play. So, Dallas is good. They're 11-6 since the trades. But they also have, only 2 first-round picks the next 6 years. They're basically up on the apron, and they have Luka and Kyrie. And if they lose in the first round of the playoffs, what's happening there? Mike Budenholzer becomes the next head coach? The Suns have no picks between now and eternity. Durant's 35. Durant and Booker have only missed 21 games combined. It hasn't like they've been injury-prone. They lose in the first round. What are they doing? Are they firing Frank Vogel a year in? Is that their only move? Clippers have no picks. They've already signed Kawhi. They have not signed Paul George yet, by the way. And I'm assuming that, as John Hollinger points out, if there was a max extension on the table, Paul George would have signed it. It is clearly not on the table. What are they doing? Sacramento's in pretty decent shape, but there's a lot of pressure there. And if they lose in the first round, what are they doing? And then obviously we have the Lakers and Warriors who have these venerable stars that are the greatest to ever play the game, who are aging and probably can't carry the team anymore. And what are they doing? I mean, you legitimately, hey, the Thunder, Timberwolves, Nuggets, and Pelicans advance. That's not crazy. And then all of a sudden you have the Clippers, the Kings, the Mavericks, the Suns, the Lakers, and the Warriors all out of the playoffs by the end of the first round. What happens? Those teams are pretty tied, hamstrung to be able to make a lot of changes, but the pressure to make changes could be mammoth. Some interesting food for thought. It is Locked On Jazz. Thanks very much for tuning in. We will be with you from Oklahoma City for second prize. We get 2 days. There tomorrow. I will have mahogany steak tonight, so it'll be fabulous. That's coming to you tomorrow from OKC. We'll talk some more about where they are, as they are the number 1 seed in the West. Jazz and the Thunder tomorrow. Thanks very much for tuning in. We now send you to the first ever 24/7 national sports channel, Locked On Sports Today. Also available on Amazon Fire TV. Have a great day.